Our final speaker, Josh James, is someone that I met before he was, I guess we could say, rich and famous. I was doing the Innovators DNA project with Clay and Hal, and decided we'd go interview these two founders of this local company. It was even before it was called Omniture, I think, and so we went and interviewed Josh and John Pastana to try and understand where some of the ideas came from for Omniture. And then, as you know, or I'm sure as most of you know, Josh had very successful exit with Omniture. He started Domo. They've gone public as well, over a $500 million valuation. I think there's only like maybe a half dozen individuals who have launched two companies that have had, you know, a $500 million plus valuations when they launch. So that's pretty impressive. And he's going to share with us some of what he's learned along the way as a two-time entrepreneur. So let's all give Josh a round of applause and thank him for coming.
All right, well, excited to be here, like hanging out in our home turf. Go Cougs. And actually, you know, speaking of Go Cougs, I got to tell you, one of my favorite people I've ever met in my life is Kalani. And I get to talk to him every once in a while. It's the benefit of giving money. They let you talk to people. And, but it's been, I think, probably just about more than anybody I've ever met. You meet the guy and you're so struck with, I want this person to be successful. He represents everything I think BYU is supposed to be. And, you know, you talk to him about, it doesn't matter what topic, and I've talked to him about a lot of topics off the record, but one thing he always says at the end of it is, you know, like, I don't understand why we do it this way. I don't understand why we can't do it this way. I'm going to treat my people like this. And at the end of all that, he says, because you think about it, that's what Christ would do. Christ wouldn't do that. That thing that we just did over there, Christ wouldn't do that. And he really means it and believes it, and he just loves everyone. And so, you know, hope that they have a lot of success tonight, but really hope that he's successful because he's one of the best people I've ever met. So, love coming to BYU and be involved in any way I can. Love help moving things forward for BYU in any way I can. I'm still kind of pissed off at BYU because they didn't let me win Entrepreneur of the Year, Student Entrepreneur of the Year, because you had to have 12 and a half credits, or 14 credits at the time, and I only had 12 and a half because I was busy. But I'll get over that at some point. You know, Jeff talking about strategy. I like strategy. I think it's one of the things that I'm good at. I don't know if I started out good at it, but I've learned to be good at it. And in fact, one of the people that taught me a lot about how to think about strategy is Elliot Jacobson here in the front. If you guys have a business and you want to whiteboard, he is the king of the whiteboard. And, you know, it's really fun to, is this working? Yeah. That one's working. This one doesn't seem to be working. I got to turn it on? Now am I good? Okay, good. Thank you. I was feeling very confined. So, yeah, I mean, what was Jerry Maguire? King of the what? Boardroom? No, king of the... Whiteboard. He was king of the whiteboard too? Oh, I don't know. No, that's Elliot. Oh, yeah, sorry. You got to know the call first before you speak up, bro. Come on. But, yeah, I think strategy is really fun. You know, I think I've always thought of my job is getting the right people on the bus, but then also making sure the bus is pointed in the right direction. And tech, at least, has been fun because the direction is always changing. There's no map. And, you know, come to find out the stuff you do the first time doesn't necessarily apply the second time. I put together some slides, but I also had Michelle, my assistant, hand out a bunch of the startup rules that I put together when I was bored and like screaming for publicity because our company wasn't doing anything yet. But during this session, if you guys got questions about anything that's in there, or if you have any questions about anything I'm saying, would love you to Raise your hand and we can make this a little interactive. What?
Number 36.
What is it?
If old enough to die for a country, you should be able to rent a freaking car. Charge more if I'm a risk.
Yeah.
Still mad it hurts. I agree with
I am so mad it hurts. Because I was right next door here at the Provo Pharmacy, and I had to go pick up Master Lock from the airport, and I didn't want to pick him up in my piece of crap car because it didn't look like we were successful in my piece of crap car. So I tried to go rent a car, and they wouldn't let me rent a car because I wasn't 25, and it made me mad. And I knew he was 6'4", so I needed to get an SUV, and I couldn't get an SUV because the only two places that had SUVs were Hertz and Budget. So I had to have one of my cousins go and rent the car, and then I had to drive it, and I broke rules by doing that. But, you know, I didn't think that was cool. It seems discriminatory. I still don't understand that one. But anyway, strategy is really interesting because, I don't know, it's just fun to play things out and to think about, you know, the next 5, 6 chess moves and what the competition is going to do and what your customers are going to do and what thing that's happening inside your business is the rinse and repeat thing that you can go and, if you do it right, that you can 10x it, you can 100x it. You know, I guess big things for me when I was first getting started, I read as many books as I possibly could read. I read as many magazines as I possibly could read. I remember going to school and listening to Jonathan Kuhn speak, who was like 2 years ahead of me, and he started 1-800-CONTACTS, and he said that he read lots of magazines. That's how he learned. So I was like, okay. And so I read lots of magazines. In fact, on my flight back from Tokyo yesterday, I was carting around about 15 magazines I picked up in the US and read them all on the way back and got lots of ideas. Wired magazine this time around was really good and really interesting, and just gets you thinking about things. So I've always learned from that, learned from Christensen's books, learned from Good to Great, learned from a book called From Worst to First, which is a very little known book about Continental Airlines. And my dad was a pilot for Continental Airlines, so like our life was always hanging in the balance because he went on strike 3 times and the company was in and out of bankruptcy. And we got a letter in the mail one time that said, your compensation just dropped by 25%. My parents were devastated. So I read everything about Continental Airlines. And then they finally got a good CEO. They had like, I think 12 CEOs or 11 CEOs in 5 years, and they finally got a good one. And he's this maverick, and he changes it, turns it around. They go from worst to first in like 3 years. And first thing he did is he walked in, got rid of all the walls, all the security clearances for the executive offices because it had become so caustic that he didn't want anyone around. And then they took all the manuals and he took them out in the parking lot. This is a Fortune 500 company. Took all the manuals of how to do business, went out to the parking lot and had a bonfire. Fortune 500 company. This guy's crazy, right? And the most fascinating thing that I got out of it is they decided to only track 4 things, 4 metrics. And the first 3 metrics, they gave every employee $100 if they were in the top 3 of on-time arrivals, passengers involuntarily bumped, and baggage. $100 for every employee if they were in the top 3 of all airlines for those 3 things. And my dad, who was a pilot, made decent money. He said there was no way that the guy down there throwing the bags was not going to get $100 because he wasn't doing his job. He wanted the $100, but it didn't make a big difference to him. But there was no way he was going to make sure he did everything possible to help the gate agents and the baggage handlers get their $100. And like overnight, they were in the top 3 of all 3 of those things. And there's one other metric that they decided to measure so that they could turn this into a very successful airline. And it really did. It went from worst to first on every metric out there. Not size, but in terms of scale and profitability and those sorts of things. What do you think that 4th metric was? If anybody can think of it, I'll give you my 20 seats to the jazz box, one of the jazz games on the floor. Yeah. Close. What's the metric? What's the metric that measured employee satisfaction? Nope. 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 Think about it. It's so much simpler than any of these things. Number of what?
Complaints.
No. What also demonstrates employee satisfaction with the company? What? What'd you say? Grit? I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Grit? Oh, okay, no, you can't, it's hard to measure that. No, this is so easy to measure. You can measure it every day. It's the number one reflection of how... I still haven't heard it. No, it is company store sales. Company store sales. How many people are buying Continental gear and putting it on? That was the fourth metric. And it went through the roof. And they measured it. I was willing to give it away. I mean, I thought, there was like 1,000 guesses that went out. So, but it's so fascinating, right? It's so simple. It's like everyone was embarrassed to work at Continental. And then they were all proud of working at Continental because they were in the top 3 of everything. And they wore their gear home, which is so cool. So, anyway, that got way sidetracked. But, that is reading, kind of ingesting as much information as possible is, how I kind of went about thinking about things and trying to get my brain thinking about things. And I'll share some mistakes and some successes. First, a little bit about Domo. We're the operating system that allows you to run your entire business on your phone. And the reason I did this is because I was running Omniture. We sold data to everybody. I'd go visit a customer, and I still remember the one that really hit home. I visited Expedia. The CEO of Expedia Online told me that they made $12 million in Omniture. That month, they made $12 million in additional incremental sales, with zero incremental costs. So it was, besides the cost to the stuff that they booked, there was zero incremental marketing cost. It was just, they found something on their website that was broken. They got the blue screen of death. They were giving it to customers. $12 million just picked it up because they found it by following all the data we were giving them. And then he asked me about, how's your company? How's your sales? We're a public company. How's your sales? How are things going? How's your employee retention? And I found myself making stuff up because I just didn't know. How many employees do you have? I never knew. I would know once a quarter. I could find out. I knew who to call. I know if I called her, she would give me the answer back in 24, 48 hours. But it was like impossible to figure it out. And it just didn't make sense to me. Like, how can I not know? We pay people every 2 weeks. Can I at least find out every 2 weeks? Like, every 2 weeks, we're paying people. But no, you can't. You get it once a quarter. Before you're public, you get it once a month. Then you get it once a quarter. And then your CFO is like, that's nice, cute CEO that you want to report. I got a business to run here. I got to do earnings. So your stuff is behind my stuff now. Deal with it. It didn't make sense. I couldn't have it on my phone. So that's why we started Domo. And oh my gosh, it's a beast of a freaking company, complex solution, holy cow. But we do have customers that, we have the CEO of Target, for instance, using our product, logging in, logs in every single day. Over 10,000 users at some of our customers. And it's pretty cool that they're literally using our product to run the business. So it's successful, now he's getting a lot more people to do it. Let's see, what else? Oh, I already did that one. Okay, so I told Jeff, I said, he's like, what do you want to talk about? Do you have any ideas? And I said, well, I can tell like some of the mistakes I've made. He's like, yeah, that'd be great. So I got no problem telling you about, maybe not all the mistakes that I made, but I got no problem telling about the stupid things that I've done. So I've done a lot. Sometimes I learn from those mistakes. I'd like to think most of the time, but not all the time. One thing that was different the second time around, you get more successful and then you're able to go hire a lot more been there, done that people. And I don't really like that so much. you get a lot of been there, done that, and they all have their ways of doing things. And if you took what they did before and you bring them in and they're doing the exact same thing for the exact same kind of company, that probably makes sense all day long. But when there's a lot of differences and nuances, and it's going to be extremely competitive, and it's really hard, and you're going to get a lot of people saying that that can't be done, or you're going to do something that hasn't been done. A lot of been there, done that people, it's not the right formula. And I didn't figure that out until I had a bunch of them at the second one, and then I was like, where's the people that, like, this is their life. This is their entire career. Like, this is where how they're going to define themselves. I need some more of those people on our executive team. And so kind of had to rejigger things and find some people to promote them. And that passion and drive is so important. So that's definitely one mistake that I made. Yeah, this is a funny one to me. A lot of times talk to entrepreneurs, talk to executives, and I hear about this. I hear this about Utah all the time. I used to always hear, you can't. Number one problem for a long time in Utah was you couldn't get funding for companies, and I was definitely saw that. We'd get like 1/5 the valuation of companies outside the state, but that's not the case anymore. If you got a good company, if someone complains now you can't get money in Utah, like that's because your business sucks, or you suck at pitching it. Like, work on that, because I've had plenty of times I've gotten no's, and it's because my business sucked, or I sucked at pitching it. But if you refine that, you can go and attract, if you're presenting it the right way, and it is the right opportunity, it is the right market, you can go and attract dollars. The other one I hear is not enough talent. Not enough, I would agree a little bit on, highly specialized executive talent, like CFOs of public companies for software as a service companies. Not a ton of them sitting around. If you want someone that's done it before because you haven't and you want to bring someone that has, so it's a good mix. Not a lot of those people lying around, but there's a handful of them. And the thing I really love doing is I love finding people that not been there, done that, but been there, almost did it. Been there, done that, but I was number 2, the person that been there, done that. I love those people. But recruiting, when you do have to go outside and get somebody, I think just like you're pitching one of your most important customers and you're trying to win a big deal and you roll off the red carpet and you do everything you can possibly think of, that's how you recruit the best employees. And I love, in fact, I think it's so funny because everyone says it. I love when you're recruiting somebody really good and they're like, I'm not really looking, I'm happy. Like, that's the easiest thing in the world to respond to. I'm like, I know. If you weren't, I would never call you. I don't want the people that are looking. I want the people that are like so valued by their company, they're never going to leave. That's perfect. Thank you for validating that I know you're the right person for this job. So you do have to roll out the red carpet. You do have to fight for the really good ones. My head of product, I started recruiting her. She agreed to come work for me, signed the letter, and from the time she signed the letter to the time that she started is the most recruiting I've ever done for anybody, because the company that she was working for just nonstop kept coming after her. They tried money, they tried stock, they tried promotions, they tried more responsibility, they tried guilt, they did everything. And it was, it's hard. But then when you get them and you treat them right, they stay for a long time. Oh yeah, here it is. That's totally true. If you can find someone who was an orphan or in foster care, that's a hungry person. Or someone that was slighted or fired. Sometimes people that are fired. I have another rule here, like I want people to hire people that are fired. It's generally true. There's an exception to every rule. And when you find someone, you can corroborate from 3-4 different angles that they were unfairly fired. Oh, that was my CFO of Omniture. That was awesome. There was nothing more that he wanted to do to make sure that the people that fired him, he proved them wrong. I just sat back and watched what happened. It was great. Skip. I think this one's definitely true. Sometimes people are like, he spends a lot of money. Well, yeah, I do when it's time to spend it, but until then, I don't spend it. And that's, I think, like I said, go over there and walk upstairs to the pharmacy. You'll see where that was the office I thought was too good for us. But I think when it is time to do something, hold back, and then when you do it, go big or go home. That's what I think. Actually, get my phone or keep my it. There's a couple of notes I want to look at. All right. So one thing that I didn't recognize one time on strategy, so you think about product extensions and what markets you're in, and what market you can go into next, and you're trying to figure out how to game plan, chess match this thing so that when you're a public company, you can help the market understand how you have a multi-billion-dollar opportunity that your company can legitimately be, and so you're trying to figure out what the ancillary markets are. I thought I did a good job of that, and generally I think I have done a good job of that, but man, I missed one. And it was, I didn't miss one and get beat by something else. It's not like a new technology came and ruined my company, but I just missed a huge opportunity. And it was with a company that I bought. So we bought this company. I mostly bought them because they were causing us a lot of problems in the marketplace. And they were the hot young thing that everybody wanted to be a part of. And we would beat them all the time with customers, but they were just getting it was getting a lot of noise. And so they went and bought my number 2 competitor, and then we beat them up for a while, and then we bought them. So I bought them for EBITDA. I just wanted to buy them it was the first public-to-public, SaaS-to-SaaS acquisition in history. And it was really interesting for a lot of reasons. It was really interesting to figure out the integration, how those things work, because there's a lot of things that are different in those kind of companies. But the thing that, in the middle of that, there was this gem that I missed. And I missed it because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the technology good enough. And that was like a huge learning, because what this company did is they brought together a lot of data from a lot of different sources and allowed you to look at that data and query it, and kind of data scientists like go through and use this data. Well, we didn't really do that. We did web analytics and online marketing, but this company was doing some online marketing, but it was also getting repurposed for sales data or machine level data. And I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand the significance of it, and I didn't understand how it worked, and I didn't understand what ETL was and batch data and all that. I just knew what we did. And I had people around me that would tell me opportunities, but I missed what my people were telling me about this, because I never got deep enough in the technology, and so I just didn't understand the significance. And I didn't understand the significance really until later when I'm doing Domo, and the competitor that we hear most about is a company called Tableau that really does kind of a crappy version of this thing that I bought a long time ago that we never really did anything with. But it was all in the cloud, massively scalable, and Tableau is not in the cloud, it isn't scalable, and Tableau should have never existed if I would have recognized the opportunity that this could have been, and that I would have, I was probably I didn't have the confidence that maybe like Jeff Bezos has. First time I met Jeff Bezos, I was so excited to talk to him, but I had to play it cool and not be like fanboy, right? So just kind of hanging out, and then he would let me sit at his table, we were all talking, and I've told this story a few times because it was funny. It was like Jeff Bezos and Reid Hoffman and Elon Musk, and the two guys from Google, and they were all arguing about outer space and whether or not you should colonize the moon or an asteroid. And Bezos thought they were idiots because they didn't want to colonize an asteroid. And so I didn't really say anything because that's not my topic. But I finally got to the point where I had to ask. We were talking more and more, and then I finally got to ask you a question. It's like, yeah. How did you get your board to invest so aggressively
in 2001, 2002, 2003, the world was falling apart, and you guys were buying distribution centers all over the place. You were losing a ton of money. Everyone was writing horrible articles about you. Your stock was worth nothing. How did you do that? Like, I don't think I could do that. And he said, well, I went to my board members, and I said, will you go on this journey with me? What? What are we talking about? He's like, yeah. I just asked them if they'd go on the journey with me. I wanted them to be in the boat with me. That sounds so unsophisticated, you know? But that makes sense. But that's crazy to me that that's what happens at the highest levels. It's just like it happens in our companies. It's the same stuff. And I found that to be so fascinating. But, you know, and then you look at what they did with AWS. At Omniture, we had AWS. This is not an exaggeration at all. We had 50,000 servers that would automatically start up, turn on, bring extra data to them, recognize where the different scaling issues were, have automatic backups. I mean, it did everything that AWS in its first instance did. It never occurred to me to turn that over and sell to somebody else because I just didn't think that people would let us do that. We didn't have the credibility to do that. But, you know, so there's definitely some strategy misses. And that's why I think the one in the appendix here, that's why this is what I have to tell myself all the time. All the time. And I meet the people that think bigger, and I'm like, gosh, dang it. Why don't, and I watch them, and I know them, and I know their flaws, and I know they're no different, but they got that on lockdown. And so that's probably, you know, one of the biggest misses that I have. We're only going to 4, it's 3:55, so should I do questions? Other questions? Huh? 5 minutes. 5 minutes of questions. Anybody got any questions or comments? I've been that entertaining and fulfilling that you left with nothing to know. Yeah.
What's been the habit that you developed early on in your life that you feel like is accredited most to your success now?
I mean, double-edged sword. I watch my kids and I see some of it. It frustrates the heck out of me, but it's like part of, I guess, who I am and who they are. If I like something, in statistics class, my friends gave me the nickname the outlier because I either got 102% or 0. So if I liked it, I gotta go after it, and I don't really care to think about anything else. There's a new book, not really new, but there's a book out recently called The One Thing. Like, that's my life. I love that book. So focusing on the thing that matters and being able to ignore everybody that's screaming at you because you're not focused on what they need. You know, that's a skill that definitely I had to really develop, and that's paid off well, because then that one thing that does matter, you make sure that it gets done, and you know, the live to fight another day, I think is really important. I mean, like in our company right now, I mean, I don't know if you got to read some of those fun articles that came out when we were going public. They were awesome. You can't say anything. That's why the salacious writers, you know, publish that stuff. But I mean, I've raised $900 million for my company, and it's worth more than $500 million. That's not good. It's really bad. But you know, when we were public, we're like, we're not selling. All that matters is what the price is when we sell. And you know, my investors wanted me to go public now, and they knew that this would be the reception, but it was the cleanest way to get money. And you know, we're losing a lot of money on purpose. I mean, I have 5-6 times the R&D spend that I had in Omniture when I'm public at Domo, because it's like 50 times the size of opportunity. So, you know, being able to ignore the noise and focus on what's working, and the thing I always just go back to is what are customers doing? Are they getting value? Do they have utility? Is it a profitable relationship? Okay, now just go get more. And that's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of too far a second.
How did you think up the Josh James startup rules, and why did you do it? Like these whole things.
I alluded to it earlier, but honestly, when we were starting the company, didn't have anything to sell yet. Was trying to get some publicity for the company, and Twitter was just getting started, and everyone was excited about it. So I put out these startup rules that were under 140 characters, and people got a kick out of them. So, and they're all true. They all have stories behind them. Yeah.
If you would please tell us, what was that kernel that was the beginning of Omniture? What did you see, and why did you go in?
Well, that's the thing I love about technology. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can be as much of an expert at 19 as someone who's 55 years old and been in business all their life. They just don't know this technology. And so we were making websites for people, and we had started probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 different stupid businesses. One of them ended up being, our customers would ask us, they'd spend, like Zions Bank, Ancestry.com, two of our earliest customers, they wrote us checks for like $400,000 to make their first websites. And they're like, okay, you snot-nosed kids, like we just paid you almost $500,000. What's happening? Are people coming? Is it just pretty? You know? And I don't know. I delivered what I was supposed to deliver to you. So we tried to figure things out. And started learning what log files were, and take all these log files and you put them on a machine, and you find some software to try to analyze it, and then the new logs come in, and you don't know why they're twice as big, but they're twice as big, and now you're not going to get data for 3 days instead of 1 day, so you got to go buy a bigger computer. It was just stupid the way it was happening. And so we had been on the internet since the beginning, and we were one of the very first remotely hosted software as a service, like our enterprise software company that we made. That was the very first one ever. But it was just necessity's mother of invention, and this box didn't work, and we knew you could spread it across multiple boxes on the internet, so that's what we did. And first we launched it for free, and we called it Superstats, and it was, a horrible name for getting money from anybody. But we had 1 million free users. And then we changed the name to Omniture and started charging people, and it doubled every year for like 8 years. All right, last question. Yeah?
What are the qualities that a person should look for in a business partner?
For me, the thing that I care most about in a business partner, way before skill sets and what they bring to the table, is loyalty to each other, and generally the same attitudes, philosophies, morals. You got those 2 things, then everything else will work itself out. Because some founders, they both contribute all the way through. It's extremely rare. Most founders, one of them starts gravitating towards something and someone towards something else, and one of them maybe even gets a bigger title over time, and one has a lesser title. But if you can just appreciate the fact that you both were devoted and in it together when no one else was there and you were sleeping under the desk, then nothing can get between you, and then that relationship can last for a long, long time. And then other than that, I don't necessarily think it needs to be like super complimentary. That's great, because then you have easy division of responsibilities. Or, it could be 2 people that just get along really well. My brother runs a company in California called Zephyr, and the 2 of them can both do everything that the other one does, and they've been working together for like 10 years now, and it's fantastic. It's a $100 million business growing like crazy. So I've seen a lot of things work, but most of the time it doesn't. When it doesn't, it's because of those first 2 things. All right, thanks everybody.